Hi everybody, thanks for joining me on the Big Picture podcast. I'm here in one of my happy places, Rathmines Library, and I'm here to talk about the Summer Stars reading programme. And luckily I've got somebody who knows all about it, which is Mags Curley.
Hi,
Welcome
PJ.
Mags, thanks for joining us. And Mags is going to tell us all about the Summer Stars reading programme. So off you go, Mags.
Thanks, PJ. So the Be a Summer Star reading programme is the first time we've had a national reading initiative that covering all libraries in the country, and this is our explanatory leaflet here for parents. And the idea behind the reading challenge is that we're encouraging children to try and read 6 books this summer, so they will all be able to get a reading card like this in their local library. And as you can see on the back there, we have space for them to fill in the title and the author, and they will also get a little stamp each time they have read a book. So when they get up to 3 stamps, they get a small reward, and then when they get up to 6 stamps, they'll be assured of an invite to our party at the end of the summer, and we will also be giving them a certificate as well. So it's great fun. We've had a good few thousand sign up already, so it's creating a great buzz in the libraries. So
it's a great initiative, it really is. They can choose from any books in the library, or do you have a reading list for different age groups?
They can choose from any books in the library, but we are promoting 2 particular ones as part of the Summer Stars in Dublin City public libraries, and that's The Secret of Cows, and the book based on that by Ethel Massey, and also a firm children's classic, the BFG. Obviously there's a big film release soon, so we're promoting both these to complement the Summer Stars initiative. But other than that, you don't have to read these 2. As you can see, there's a huge array there, and you're free to choose any book you'd like.
Yeah. But they're both great books.
They're fantastic.
And in my experience, kids do love to read books that have that movie tie-in.
Exactly.
They'd be reading Roald Dahl anyway, and they've probably seen the movie of the Secret of Cows. So they're 2 great choices for everyone to read.
And we actually have some complementary activities to go with these as well. So we're going to have some stop motion animation workshops in selected libraries as well. So they may be booked up though. So just check with your library before you show up on the day.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a brilliant initiative. Absolutely. I hope you have 1 or 2 of my books on the.
Of course we do. Plenty of good selection.
One of the great things about the Summer Stars reading programme is that kids are invited to select from books right across the range, modern books, new books, and classics as well. And I love some of the classics because I've been around a while. and I remember books like this, for instance. This is one of my absolute favourites. If their mums and dads are watching and you want to get them off to sleep, this is an absolute classic. It has a lovely text that doesn't quite rhyme, and the pictures are absolutely lovely as well. That's one of my favourites, and I think I've read that so many times that my kids know it off by heart, and I used to know it off by heart.
So one of the ones I picked is this one here, Who's There Beware. Again, it's for the younger age group, and I particularly like the kind of accordion folds in the book. So basically it's about this little mouse in danger going through the forest to go to his granny's house, and he encounters lots of scary kind of, well, not some cute things, but some scary shadowy things. So and then you can turn it over to reveal that it's not actually anything scary at all. My favourite one is actually probably maybe I shouldn't show the very last one, just in case, keep a bit of suspense.
Yeah, keep some suspense.
But there's this one here as well, which, as you can imagine, would send the mind of a toddler racing.
That's brilliant.
And then there's another lovely reveal just to see that again.
Who's There Beware, absolutely beautiful book. What else have you got there?
Well, there's one of my all-time favourites is Mo Williams. I adore his Pigeon books. So this is one of his newer ones as well, and it has a nice little twist. I love the fact that it kind of evokes silent film kind of design and that. And again, there's only some basic text, so it's an ideal one for young readers. And the tension is built up throughout, where the Mother Goose, I think I call her anyway, she gets invited to come deeper and deeper into the woods, and there's some chicks there who have some strong feelings about that. And there's a fantastic twist in the end, so I think it's beautiful work, and I'd highly recommend that.
And the pictures are
Very
quite
fun.
busy for Mo Willems. Sometimes he just does the basic figure, but they're quite complex.
Yeah, there's a lot
nice
more background,
pictures.
and they're very evocative.
And
as
what
well.
I love about him is his simple use of language, and it repeats. And kids who are just learning to read absolutely adore Mo Willems.
Actually, it builds up because you can encourage. I use it for storytelling, and you can really encourage participation and the emphasis each time. An extra word is added on there, so you can really build up with that one to a good ending.
That's tremendous. That's another great choice. One of my absolute favourites. This is Oil Babies, written by Martin Waddell, a Belfast man, and illustrated by Patrick Benson. And this, again, is one of my all-time favourites because my kids adored it. And if I just look at the text again, Sarah and Percy and Bill, yeah, they were so important to me when my kids were learning to read. And look at those pictures. The great thing about these pictures, I think, is that they're not too cartoony. Patrick Benson has looked at real oil babies and seen what they look like and seen what their habitat's like and how they behave. And if you read it aloud, it helps if you're from Belfast when you're talking about oil babies. But it's an absolute classic, and I love that. And I hope lots of kids will sign up to read that one. Okay, your turn, Mags.
Yeah, well, my next one is again, it's an unusual one. It's called It's a Book by Lane Smith, and essentially, I suppose it's poking fun at the impact of technology on reading habits and that. So we have these two little characters. Here's Jackass and Monkey reading a book there. So comes along. He's quite curious. What have you got there? It's a book, and he's trying to basically equate it to a tablet. He said, how do you scroll down? And how do you turn the page? Like the little monkey there is explaining, it's a book, you just turn the pages, there's no scrolling. Do you blog with it? No, it's a book. And it just keeps going on that theme. So it's very entertaining, funny, and as I said, pokes fun at the impact of technology on all of our lives.
Yeah, that's so good.
It's a nice sweet one. It's good
because sometimes, Mags, I worry a little bit about the fact that my kids spend a lot of time on their tablets, and sometimes they say, "Don't worry, Dad, I'm reading a manga, or I'm reading a book." How do you feel about the whole thing? Would you rather they were reading proper books, or do you mind if they're reading off
I
tablets?
suppose there's room for balance, but I think there is some research that shows that children's concentration or actually adults as well, their concentration isn't quite what it is on screen compared to actual text.
Yeah.
So I would be a little old school, particularly being a librarian. I'd have to stand up for the physical book.
There's something about touching the book and turning the pages, especially on some of those younger books, the chunkier baby books, like when we were talking about this one, it just feels so nice and heavy, doesn't it?
And there's so many beautiful tactile books as well for young age groups that you just don't get that kind of sensation, even if you've links to websites or little fancy games. It's not the same as it.
But whenever I get a book, I just love the smell of it as well. You don't get that off a tablet.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to Guess How Much I Love You. It's another classic. And I'm really promoting the Northerners here. This is by Sam McBratney, who's from Lisburn, and Anita Jerram, who lives in Larne. So it's got a very Irish root, this book, and it's a massive success. It came out probably 20 years ago, and I'd say it's probably sold 20 million by now, which is unbelievable. And when you get into it, you can see why it's such a success. The pictures are absolutely brilliant, and again, as I was referring to Patrick Benson, they aren't just cartoony hares, not brown hares. Anita has gone and done her research and looked at the habitat of the hares and looked at the shapes of their bodies, and she's really drawn them properly, and she's a great hand with watercolour. Then the text itself is all about love. It's a bit gushing, and it's the kind of it turned out to be the kind of present that lots of people gave to their boyfriend or their girlfriend.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
Which may be why it became such a success. But that's one of my favourites for sure.
Yeah, it's a perfect one for sharing with young children as well, isn't it?
Okay, have you got another one there for the slightly older age group, is it?
A tiny bit older. This was opened very carefully, A Book with Bite, and it's by Nick Bromley and illustrated by Nicola O'Byrne. and I just love, again, it's a bit more text in this, but it's quite subversive. It starts off with Once Upon a Time, and there's some nice little ducks there, and then we have the intervention here, and we see the crocodile crashing through into the picture book and causing havoc.
Oh wow!
And he's sitting there, and you have to try and basically pacify him and get the story back to normal. So he is on the move. He's quite an angry little crocodile, and obviously gobbling up sentences isn't a great plan for a picture book, but there are still plenty of words. So this one then, I absolutely adore. I'll show you the ending of this one, because it just is such a nice feature of the book, where he finally escapes from the book.
So clever.
Order is restored.
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, it's great fun, and I think just the idea behind it of, you know, a traditional story being gate crashed by the crocodile particularly appeals to me.
Yeah, I love that, and I haven't seen their work before. Nicola O'Byrne, I wonder if she's Irish. That's tremendous.
It's really nice.
Love that one. Really good. The next one I want to talk about is Her Mother's Face by Roddy Doyle. Roddy Doyle is a very well known writer for adults, but he's moved into writing for kids, and this is an absolutely beautiful story, and the pictures are stunningly good, by Freya Blackwood. And it's a story, it's all about a little girl who's living with her dad in a very quirky Dublin house, and being Roddy Doyle, it's got lots of Dublin atmosphere about it. But her mother has died, and it's all about her missing her mom and that big gap that's in her life as she gets older. And I can tell you, when I first read this book, it absolutely broke my heart. If you like a weepy, this is the book for you, but it has a lovely happy ending as well. So I'd recommend that very strongly. Roddy Doyle, Her Mother's Face, illustrated by Freya Blackwood.
So I'm taking a jump into a higher age group now. So this is for the 9 to 12 age, and it's called A Book of Learning by E.R. Murray. It's the first in a trilogy, and it's about a girl called Ebony Smart who realises that after the loss of her grandparents, she realises that actually she has more family than she thinks, and they're actually part of a shadowy group called the Order of the Nine Lives, and they have the potential to reincarnate. So it's quite a page turner, a little bit scary, that's why it's in the older age bracket, and it's the first part in the trilogy. It does end on a cliffhanger, so we'll be quite eager to read the next one.
And you were telling me it's set in Dublin?
It is set in Dublin, yeah.
Do you think kids, it's like the Roddy Doyle book I was talking about, it's really firmly set in Ireland. Do you think kids enjoy reading books about the places where they live themselves?
Yeah, I think so. I think it gives them an access point in, doesn't it? If there's some familiarity, particularly with Roddy, with the cadence of people's voices and the language and that kind of thing. I mean, you can hear that when you're reading his work, and I think similarly, if there's a sense of place in a book, children can feel it that bit easier to make a connection with the character, and for them to make that transition into the imaginary world through the real world. So yeah, I think it's really helpful.
Yeah, I love the sound of this. I'm looking forward to reading that one myself. Again, for slightly older children, kids who might be interested in poetry, the Iron Man by Ted Hughes. And this is a version I haven't seen before. It's got beautiful pictures, very energetic, big watercolor pictures. And although Ted Hughes was a poet, this is very accessible language. It's not written in rhyming couplets. And I would really recommend that one. It was turned into a movie called The Iron Giant, but they took great liberties with the text and went a long way away from it. But so this is the original if you want to get back to that.
Yeah, and my next one is a historical fiction one, and actually this is based in Dublin as well. I swear that wasn't deliberate. So it's Across the Divide by Brian Gallagher, and I'm sure most people would know his work. He's a fantastic writer for the older age group, again 9 to 12 for this one. And this is based during the period of the lockout, and there are some, the two characters are children that are on essentially opposing sides of the labour dispute. So it's again very exciting and very accessible to children. I think the language as well just moves things along very nicely, and again, you know, colloquialisms are always a good start. So it's a very fast-paced story, and just shows you how children's lives, we often think of them as being quite simple, but they're caught in the middle of everything like the rest of us.
Yeah, so I think that's the kind of book I would have loved when I was a child, because I always loved a bit of history, and especially history about Irish subjects. I really enjoyed reading those. Let's move on a little bit. I want to talk about One by Sarah Crossan, because this is told in rhyming couplets, but you really wouldn't notice it once you get into reading it. So don't be put off by that. But it just means the language has that little extra poetic thing to it. It's the story of two conjoined twins, and it's about their love for each other and how they get on and how they interact with people. And when I was reading it, I was waiting for sort of predictable nastiness from this character at the school, and the writer, Sarah Crossan, kept surprising me. People didn't react the way I expected them to. And she gives the two twins their completely independent and believable personalities, and I won't give too much away, but it gets a little bit heartbreaky towards the end, this book, but I really recommend that one. It was the winner of lots of different prizes this year, including the CBI Book of the Year, so that's one to look out for sure.
One of the other ones I was just going to refer to as well, because as we know, not everyone likes to read fiction, and quite a few of us would like to throw the odd non-fiction or information book in there as well. So we brought along this is just one edition of the Horrible Histories, and these are a great way really to again get children engaged in history. Terry Deary really knows what he's doing, and it's full of excitement, and basically this one, potentially a lot of them blood and guts, but it's a great way into history, and
I
it's
love
a
these
fun way to
books
spend it,
because
actually.
they're little snippets of information, and they're always told in a very funny way, and they're quite rude, so my kids adored them. And if you like the Horrible History on Vicious Vikings, then you can go on to the Ridiculous Romans, and I can't remember all the different names of them,
Vile
but
Victorians, and he
there's
covers the whole
loads and loads of different ones. So
gamut,
that's a
but
great
fantastic
series to get into, and kids do love working through series, don't they?
Yeah, they definitely do. There's a lot of completists out there, and there's some. It's interspersed with little pictures as well. So it really does. It's a bit of a cliche, but it really does bring history to life. It's fantastic.
Brilliant. I want to talk about A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness and illustrated by Jim Kay. It's based on an idea by Sean Dowd, and this book made a big impression when it first came out a couple of years ago, and it's now been made into a really big movie, so look out for that one in the summer. The pictures are tremendous. I'm always looking out for a good illustrator, and Jim Kay, he worked in a totally different style to his usual style. I think he was so moved by the content of the story, which again, it's about death and stuff, but don't let that put you off. There's so much in it, and the giant is a great character, and I think you're going to love this one. Again, a little bit heartbreaky, but a terrific book. That's a great roundup of a lot of books. Thank you very much, Mags, and I'm looking forward to reading some of those myself.
Me too.
And do you have to be a kid to sign up for Summer Stars, or can I sign up?
You unfortunately have to be a child. You could sign up to read to a young child, though.
Oh, okay.
Because this time, for the first time as well, we are encouraging also parents to fill out a card with a young child if they're too young to read it. So that's always an option.
And Summer Stars is an absolutely brilliant programme in Irish libraries all over the country. So get into the libraries. There's such a wonderful choice of books, and make out your Summer Stars card and enjoy your summer reading. Thank you very much, Mags.
Thanks, PJ.
My name is PJ Lynch. Join me next time on the Big Picture podcast. Thank you.